Hey there everyone, it's Jenna. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're gonna go antiquing, and it's been a while since I've done a proper antiquing trip, so I'm excited to get some of those items to help add character and uniqueness to my decorating. And you know, when you go antiquing, you don't always know what you're gonna find, which is half of the fun, but there are some things that I personally scan for to help give my space that high-end designer look. So I'll share that with you as we move through the store, and then we'll come back home and I'll show you all of my finds and how I styled them throughout my home. So should be a really fun video. We're gonna go to some of my favorite local antique spots here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And yeah, without further ado, let's go shopping. Okay, so our first stop is the depot at Gibson Mill, and this place is super cool because it's this expansive property that used to be an old textile mill, and they've recently added a food hall. So I got the goat burger at Johnny Rogers. It was amazing. I had goat cheese and candied bacon on it, and I highly recommend. But after fueling up, we headed on over to the antique mall section, and this place currently claims that it is the largest antique mall in the South, so I always score some major finds here. There were so many sweet spring pieces that I found on this trip, including these rustic planters. I loved the scallop detail, and they were only $10 each, which I thought was a pretty reasonable price, and I thought they'd be perfect for a little countertop herb garden. But judging by how many of these there were in their appearance, I don't think that they were actually antiques, but they were still a pretty rustic piece that was made to look old. And they had a bunch of these all over at different booths, and I totally would have gone for them because this is something that I always like to keep an eye out for, are rustic planters and vases. But I'm actually going to be aging my own pots this year in a future DIY video to give my garden that rustic French countryside feel. Something else I like to scan for are distressed wood pieces to use in styling, and I thought this vintage mortar and pestle was a great deal at 17 bucks, and this would look so cute styled on a countertop or maybe with some dishes on some open shelving. I also thought this little wooden easel would be so cute to display a small piece of art on. I have a mini easel that I use in my styling, and this wood one would add such a fun rustic look. So something else I always like to scan for are copper accents, especially copper pots and cookware, because I think they make for really gorgeous styling pieces to use in a kitchen. I really liked the patina on this tea kettle, and I love the look of an old vintage kettle styled on a burner to give off that old world lived in feel. Something else I see from time to time are old copper egg poachers, and I think these are so stinking cute. This is actually where I found mine, and we have it hanging on the back of our stovetop area, and I love the added dimension that the egg holes give. And honestly, I think my favorite thing to look for when vintage shopping is just old distressed wood. There's something about the texture of that cracked and groovy aged wood that adds this layer of dimension and warmth to a space that I just love. I also spotted this old Indian door coffee table, and I thought this was absolutely stunning. You guys, I almost bought this. It reminded me a lot of a coffee table that one of my favorite designers, Lauren Lease, used in one of her iconic living rooms that she designed. I just loved the ironwork on here and thought it would add so much character and uniqueness to a living room. They also had a bunch of salvaged wood beams here also, and this was actually the first time I had seen them here, but they would look so pretty maybe cut down and used as a fireplace mantle or lining a range hood in a kitchen. I also spotted this cute little scalloped wall holder that would be so perfect for displaying spices on a wall in a kitchen, or maybe just using as a smaller planter outdoors. I also loved the patina on this gorgeous vintage handmade stool, and I thought the lines on the legs were super unique, and this would make such a statement in an empty corner, maybe with a little plant popped on top of it, or maybe with like a little small piece of artwork hung above it in an entryway. Definitely a unique piece with lots of character. Now, another way to dress up a blank wall is with a pedestal, and this one was so rustic and pretty, and it was a steal at only $20. Honestly, this one reminded me a lot of the Camino wood pedestal at Ballard Designs that goes for like $300, so definitely a great deal. I also really liked this reclaimed wood wall hanger for $28. This would honestly be such an easy DIY if you had a piece of old wood, but I love the rustic feel that this gives off, and it would be so sweet in a bathroom or entryway.
This reclaimed wood candle holder was also super cute. They had a bunch of them, so honestly you could just get a couple and then line them down the center of a dining table to create a rustic ambiance, or you could just use it by itself as a sweet little styling accent. I also loved this little mason jar candle holder, and the tag did say it was a wall sconce, but it could also double as a cute little wall vase for spring just to pop some flowers in from the yard. Now, this rustic topiary was such a steal at $19. This looks super similar to one they sell on Wayfair for over $100, and honestly, I used to steer clear of buying greenery at antique stores because they were usually just selling Hobby Lobby stems for twice the price, which is still something you have to look out for, but occasionally you can find a deal or two or at least some unique greenery for a decent price. I loved how this vendor had their wall styled for spring with the hanging woven hats, and it looked like they took an old barn window and put a mirror behind it, which I thought was super creative. So next I moved on to my other favorite local antique store here in the Charlotte area, and this one is the Sleepy Poet. This one is much smaller than the depot at Gibson Mill, but it's still a super large warehouse with tons of vendors, and I always come here for my favorite vendor, which is the Old Crow. Here they have lots of antique pieces and distressed wood, like these gorgeous chapati boards. These are wooden plates that were used to roll dough for flatbreads, and I have a couple of stone ones back at home, and I love to use them for charcuterie boards or to use as a little riser for some of my decor. So definitely a versatile little accent piece to have on hand, and I also loved this large vintage crock. The tag said this was local here to North Carolina, which was cool, and I love brown distressed vases for adding a rustic earthy tone to a space. Another thing that they had a lot of were these old wood printing blocks, and these would be pretty decorative objects just to style on a shelf or maybe just to actually use in a DIY with some paint. I also really loved these old carved wooden vases. Again, I'm just obsessed with the old primitive wood and thought these would add some nice warmth to a space. I also like to keep an eye out for handmade ceramics as well, and I loved the earthy brown tone of the glaze used on this piece and all of the speckle detail. I thought this would be so cute as a little planter or maybe a small utensil crock, and I love that it was signed. So after leaving the Old Crow booth, I decided to wander around a little bit more, but at this point I had scored a lot of deals and my cart was pretty full, so I browsed around for a couple more pieces and got some more inspiration and then headed back home to style my things.
All right, so we are now back home and I'm going to show you all everything that I found and how I styled it throughout my space. So the first find that I scored was this gorgeous Elmwood bench. Now this is like one of those mini vintage stools, and these can go for like $80 to $100 online, and I found this guy for $59, and the booth was having a 15% off sale. So this was from Old Crow, my favorite spot at the Sleepy Poet, so couldn't pass it up. It brought the price down to $50, which I thought was such a steal, and this just has such gorgeous distressing. And when I look for these vintage stools, I really look at the wood tone, and this one was such a perfect tone for my space. And I love using these little stools as a way to add some texture and warmth to shelf styling. I just think it looks very designer and expensive. So we actually already have one in our bedroom. I have some shelves in there, and I have a little distressed stool that I got a while back. So, you know, I kind of hemmed and hawed, do I need this one? But we are building a shelf in our living room area, so that's not complete yet, but I figured that this would look really pretty in there just because I feel like this is such a statement piece. What I'm planning to do is just pop a little candle and a piece of greenery on it to help dress it up a little and make it seem a little bit more intentionally styled. So that's my plan for it, but I also figured that this would be really great out on a patio or outside to elevate a little herb garden and just add some texture and warmth and a really fun antique piece into like my patio styling. So that's another option that I might do in the future as well, but definitely a great price, and I feel like I scored on this one. Okay, so the next piece that I found was this gorgeous distressed wood vase. Now, this guy was $95, which is a little bit more on the pricier side than what I typically like to spend, but you know, you just see those pieces that speak to you and in your head you're like, it's worth it, I need to have it. That was this piece for me. I mean, it is just so pretty. This patina is absolutely gorgeous on here. I did think it was a decent price for how large this is. So this piece will definitely make a statement no matter where I move it to throughout my home, but when I saw it, I immediately had an idea for it. And what I see a lot of designers do when styling a dining table to use some repetition is they use two vases that vary in size. So they'll have a large vase and then a little one to kind of accent it. And I just love the look of that. So I actually have a smaller wood vase that looks very similar that I can use that repetition trick with. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to use this on our dining table, and it's just going to provide a really nice focal point because I've been wanting to switch up our dining table styling for a while now, and I figured that this piece was a really fun way to add character and warmth and just create a statement because of how large it is. So yeah, a little bit on the pricey side, but I think that this will be a great addition to our dining room and just kind of help to add that character and uniqueness that I was looking for. All right, so for this next piece, something that I'm seeing designers do a lot lately is use really tall twiggy stems in their styling. And this has become a very popular look as a way to help add height to a space and some dimension without being too over the top or fluffy. It's a little bit minimal, and you know, I'm really drawn to that look. So I had been eyeing these stems on Afloral for a long time because they have that twigginess quality to them, but they also have some really pretty buds to help add that spring-like feel to a space. So I had been eyeing them for spring, but they were very pricey at $44 a stem, so I never pulled the trigger. So when I found these at the antique store for only $15 each, I knew that I had to get them. So what I figured I would do with these is actually just pop them into the rustic wood vase that I got. So they're definitely gonna help make that statement on our dining table. Of course, when we have guests over, I'll swap them out for something a little bit lower, but we hardly ever eat at our dining table. So for everyday styling, I think that these are gonna make such a pretty statement, especially because we don't have a light fixture. So I really rely on the vase in the center of the table to add some weight and height. And I think these are going to do that perfectly. I just love the almost sculptural feel of the twigs and how it really helps to create a statement, and that they have these really beautiful budding flowers on there to give off a spring-like look and feel. So it'll just help to change things up and make things feel fresh for the new season. Okay, so the next piece that I found was this absolutely stunning distressed wood wall hanger. The tag said that this was salvaged from old Indian architecture, so I'm not really sure. Maybe it was a door at one time. It does kind of seem to be that these wall hooks are newer while these iron decorative elements are older. So these have like a more primitive old world look to them with texture, while these look to be a little bit newer. So I wonder if it's like a piece from a door or something, which I just think is super cool. And you know, this would add so much warmth and personality to a bathroom or maybe an entryway to hang some keys or purses. I think that we are going to hang this on a little empty strip of our hallway, and it's right by our garage door. So I think it'll be great for, you know, hanging purses or keys or whatever. And then I'll probably hang a little piece of artwork above it. It's just an empty space of wall that I've been wanting to do something to for a long time, but I just never had the perfect piece until now. And it's in a spot where, you know, we'll see it a lot. All right, so the next piece that I found was, surprise, another distressed wood piece, and it's this little circle stool. And I love these because these are perfect to put plants on. So what I figured was that I could use this outdoors for part of my little herb garden and pop some of my rosemary that I have on here. And it's just a pretty way to elevate it and add some visual interest and some warmth and texture with this old aged wood. So this guy was $28, which I thought was a pretty good deal. You know, it's just a little bit more than you would pay for something at Home Goods or something like that, but it has, you know, distressing on it, and that's what I was really looking for, is something with character. And you know, I think that this was probably a little children's stool from back in the day, and I love these little line details on the legs. It's nothing too over the top or crazy, but just adds a little bit of visual interest. So I think this will look really pretty out on our patio. All right, so the next piece that I found was this super cute little distressed wood shovel. And what I really liked about it was that the handle was wood, surprise, and that it had this really pretty distressing, and it just kind of looks like it's been sitting out aging in the sun for years. I loved the little cracks on here and the texture that that adds. I also really like that this had a hole in the top, so what I can do is hang this as decor. So I thought that this would be pretty to hang somewhere out on our patio. I am going to do a future patio refresh, so I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to put it, but at the end of the day, I just figured it'd be a great styling piece to have on hand to kind of give that old antique-y kind of French country feel to our outside area. And you know, when I look at this, I kind of just picture those old chippy gardens in the south of France or somewhere in Italy. And I don't know, I feel like this just kind of projects that sort of antique, old, like vintagey garden look, which I love. So I thought that this was a really good deal for $8. All right, everyone, that about wraps up this video. I hope that you enjoyed seeing this antique shop with me and haul. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. It really does help to support my channel, and be sure you're subscribed and you hit that notification bell because I post new home decor content every single week. And I'm also very active over in my community page where I post things like sales, new arrivals, and restock alerts. So that's another benefit of being subscribed as well. And I just want to thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope that you have a fabulous week, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye!